Tocqueville also made the statement that Americans were more conversant with notions of right than the greater part of the Europeans were. Why is being conversant with notions of right important? And how do we allow citizens to become conversant with the rights?
A great way to encourage this is to really encourage groups that bring people together and really do converse, even things such as civic education and the We the People program. What we're doing right now, talking about rights, talking about civic education, is really what de Tocqueville noticed, and we have since strayed from that since the years that he has visited.
You seem to be supporters of groups and organizations. There are something like 80,000 lobbyists who often sit in the seats you're sitting out there today to express the views of the public. Would Tocqueville be happy with the explosion of lobbying organizations as the representatives of the people?
De Tocqueville, he really encouraged civic participation, and even though lobbyists are more towards the end of really getting what they want to do out there, whether in economic terms or environmental terms, and not necessarily participating in government just to participate in government, I believe because they are going and talking to the government and using the rights that enable them to do that are in the Constitution, he would be proud of people coming to sit before Congress.
I might disagree with my colleague, Mr. Conkle. I feel that what de Tocqueville was so proud of when he visited America was that Americans were relying on their own efforts and they weren't looking to others to help them. So while lobbyists may be representing the views of these citizens very well, the citizens still are not doing their part as much as they used to be to influence the government. They're more relying on lobbyists to bring towards the government, to bring the issues that they want to the government instead of protesting the government or using their right to freedom of assembly.
Yeah, there's some, yeah.
Oops. Thank you very much.
Well, we obviously did not agree with the timekeeper, but that's the way it goes, you know. We certainly enjoyed your spirited presentation. I especially liked your opening. That was a very nice distillation overview of some of Tocqueville's major thinking, and I think it put you off to a very good start. I think you had a little trouble, and so do we as a society, with the whole issue of equality of condition. You talked about the fact that that's more of a socialist desire and aim, that it's inconsistent with capitalism, and yet we're worried about seeing that everybody has an opportunity to come up in some way. It's a conundrum that as a democratic society we just have not solved at this particular point. I liked your citation of the case of the firefighters and the reverse discrimination that you mentioned there. Your inclusion of housing, which of course would get us back to the whole notion again of equality of condition and affirmative action. I liked your linkage of the First Amendment to free speech, free assembly, and the relationship of that to a society in which there is greater opportunity. All told, it was a very interesting and well-presented presentation.
Yeah, thank you for the presentation. I really thought it was well done, and the way that you systematically sort of went through the history and really pointed out the fact that Tocqueville, when he arrived in the United States and made these observations, things are very clearly very different. You kept going back to that point in sort of a historical context. I think that we needed to hear a little bit more about the constitutional aspects, and I know you answered those questions very well when we did bring those up to you. I thought that I'd like to hear more about, we talked about education sort of being an equalizer, talked about housing, which is actually a good point, and a good point made that a lot of folks hadn't. But I would like to hear some other ways, and healthcare I think was the other one that was brought up. But if there's other solutions in which we can which can confer a greater opportunity that Tocqueville had envisioned, sort of thinking outside of the box. The presentation was, like I said, well done. The questions, the answers to the questions were obviously proved to us that you did a lot of study with some current casework, and that's very much appreciated. Great job.
Good job on the definitions early on. I think that was helpful to move us forward. I like the fact that you were willing to take on the author, take on the authorities, and grapple with your disagreement with what the authorities have to say. That was very, very nicely done. I think across the board you had a lot of good, broad examples. But I also want you, just for a minute, to look around this room. You are now in a very elite little organization, little group of people who've had the opportunity to testify on Capitol Hill. Not many people have that opportunity. And I hope you will savor that. I hope you'll come back someday. Maybe to sit at that table, hopefully among the enlightened rather than among the incriminated, but that you will enlighten the people sitting up here, or perhaps we're going to see some of you sitting up in these chairs. You're certainly on the right trajectory to do that. Thank you very much.